The critic reviews are starting to drop for The Nun 2. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes is a battle between fresh and rotten. Currently it stands at a 59% rotten with 29 reviews, which is still better than the first Nun that is sitting at 24% rotten with 209 reviews. So what are some of the worst reviews for The Nun 2? Emma Jane from Digital Fix writes, The Nun 2 is a massive improvement from its 2018 predecessor, but is ultimately hampered by its script and abundance of cheap scares. Valak's role in the IP is still as confused as ever. Score 2 out of 5. Murjani from DraftKings Nations writes, While Valak may be everlasting, I'm unsure how many more abandoned chapels are left to terrorize. Jake from the Sydney Morning Herald writes, When even the makers of the Nun films are losing interest in the malevolent nuns, it's time to start looking for new ways to be scary. Score 2 out of 5. Matt from Daily Dad writes, It's a sequel that copies previous Controverse entries, lacks discipline, and overstays its welcome like the rough draft of something tighter, trimmed, and better focused. Score 2.5 out of 5. Neil from Total Film writes, Is the Conjuring universe worth continuing? This latest iteration will leave you none the wiser. Score 2 out of 5. You know, I was waiting for someone to use some sort of nun pun. Ryan from The Guardian writes, Is this just a big dead end? Asked Deborah. You said it, sister. Score 1 out of 5. Ganesh from First Post writes, With similar patterns of jump scares and unnecessary goriness, especially in the second half, it fails to deliver anything new or substantial. Score 2.5 out of 5. Naval from The Times India writes, The low fright factor and uneven pace of the narrative and the multiple horror cliches prevent the movie from reaching its potential. Score 3 out of 5. Jim from JimShambry.com writes, It's just not scary. Score 1.5 out of 5. Nadine from The Curb writes, By the time The Nun 2 is over, it's probable that you are praying for the franchise to just give up the ghost. Anthony from Film Inc. writes, A meandering and largely directionless assemblage of tropes and nods to other, better films. Score 12 out of 20. Why is this critic's scale out of 20 though? Mark from the Associated Press writes, A movie that seems destined to pound a nail into this franchise's undead coffin. Score 1 out of 4. William from The Wrap writes, Its many inane moments sound entertaining when you list them all on one page, but they're so spread out through this movie that the entertainment is usually quite scarce. Megan from Bloody Disgusting writes, The Nun 2 dials up the fear factor as it takes the more is more approach to everything from set pieces to mythology. It makes for a livelier entry that stumbles in its excess and can't capture what made Valak so scary in the first place. Score 2.5 out of 5. As more reviews drop, I think it will end up in a positive score on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience seems to really enjoy it from what I've seen. Are you planning to watch it? And have you already watched Nun 2? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments.